See, the difference with me, when I do what I do what I'm doing, but I'm doing it like I'm doing it for TV. Ow, 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 ow. Keep your hands up. What? Put your hands up. Come on. Keep your hands up. Way back. We back. Put your hands up.
We are back once again, folks. Can you believe it? Even a month ago, people would have said this day would not come, but here we are. Opening day, just as planned at the end of last season. We're starting right after Labor Day. Just had an awesome auction. I thought it was great. I want to take a moment and welcome some of the new teams that have joined us this year. Will the Thrill Carroll. He is a cousin of mine from Potsdam, New York. Many of you may know him from his time visiting during the Franklin County Fair. He loved the bumper cars and the Gravitron, and of course, a little fried dough. And beyond that, a little orangeade. It was always a debate whether to go with the orangeade or the lemonade, and orangeade was kind of a cool thing. And the other member, Smuts Nuts, Lance Smith, great hockey player, great athlete, great fantasy player. He took on a role in this league with a team that, God rest his soul, Luke that passed away. And Lance was the first person to come in and take over that team. We expect big things. From an auction perspective, I thought it was really neat. Lance came in with not a huge budget. There were some trades that went on last year that limited his budget. And right from the get, he went right at it with Red, battling and pretty much putting all of his chips into the center of the table. So I thought that was kind of cool. And he seemed to get a good grasp of it. I had the pleasure, I haven't done a lot of leagues this year, but I had the pleasure of doing a league the following night with Will, traditional draft style. And I think Will also learned a lot from his first experience in an auction format. We talked a little bit about maybe the sticker shock you see with some of these players that go for a lot more than you expect. And then on the flip side, as you get later in the auction, if you have some cash left over, you're often in a position where you can get players on the cheap. So I felt pretty good about my auction. Going in, I liked my keepers, Devonta Adams, Miles Sanders, and Dalvin Cook. I had debated about trading away Lamar Jackson prior to, talked to Batteray, who came into it with just a huge bankroll. And just in all transparency, Batter was willing to offer about $15 for Lamar's services. And in the end, I felt that $15 was not enough, given the $1 keeper price that we had for Lamar. And I figured I would take my chances. So going into the auction, I kind of looked at it as 3 to 4 players that I wanted to spend somewhere in the neighborhood of $40 to $50 for. I pretty much did that. Tyreek Hill, I went up into the 60s, but I can't complain too much about that. So I'm pretty happy with my squad. Often in this situation, we've been joined by the commissioner. He reminded me earlier today that all the years that I was the commissioner for this league, and eventually handed over the reins a few years ago, that I promised that I would keep this role as the host of your weekly preview. And thanks to Zoom and YouTube, I'm able to do it much more efficiently and stream it live. So hopefully some of you are on right now checking this out. We are going to be joined in just a few moments with Eric Gruner, the owner of Team Irrelevance. I was really impressed with his auction this year, and I want to get his take on maybe some of the players he got, some of the players that he just missed out on. And I think as I look at it here, he's also, funny enough, my week 1 matchup. So hopefully there'll be no animosity. I'm currently at a lead of 15.6 to 0, but not a huge day for Tyreek Hill. So should definitely be a battle come Sunday. Just a couple other league notes that I wanted to bring up. That being that we had discussed prior us increasing the entry fee this year due to COVID-19 and people in various circumstances. We've opted not to do that. There was some talk post-auction with a couple of teams about increasing it next year, so we'll see where that goes. Couple other things that I think are worth considering, and Will in his league just missed out on this. He ran out of time. The elimination of the kicker and also the elimination of defense. And I think that kind of makes a lot of sense in a fantasy format, but we'll see what the rest of the league thinks. Of course, this year we have the same rosters. We did get one executive decision from Red at the 11th hour, those 2 extra injury reserve players, COVID specific. I kind of busted his chops earlier on that wasn't put to a vote, but I think it made sense. And that'll be something that our commissioner, our fearless commissioner, as I like to call him, will have to keep an eye on. But hopefully you're all keeping an eye on it yourself. So I am going to try to invite Eric here if I can. He'll be joining us shortly. And as I'm sure as this goes, I'll become much more fluid in this whole process, folks. So bear with me. But I'm going to be sending him the link now. And let's try this. Okay, so we'll wait for Eric to join us. Couple other kind of key matchups I'm kind of looking forward to this week. I'm looking forward to the Fried Dough to Go, Will Carroll versus the Bermuda Bumblebees. I think that's going to be a good one. Will held his own. I talked to Commissioner Wells. He was pleased with the performance, but it wasn't that knockout performance from Patty Mahomes. It was pretty standard fare there. But you've got to love the addition of Edwards Hilaire to the ball club. He looked awesome in that game. So we will see how that pans out throughout the course of the year. Perhaps it's one of those situations where, as I said to Red, he may be overexposed to Kansas City. That could come back to haunt him. But without further ado, I'm going to bring on Mr. Eric Gruner to today's weekly preview. So let's bring him aboard. Eric, how are you? Eric, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, very good. So sorry to keep you waiting. I had to get some, just a few initial pieces out of the way before we brought on the guest. First off, how are things down in New York City?
Things are pretty good, as normal as can be expected. Not quite as, ruckus as New York City usually is, and not as, there's certainly not the city that never sleeps anymore. Everything closes around 9 o'clock these days, but it's things are good.
Some may argue that the fact that the city doesn't sleep, or the city now does sleep, is why you did so damn well in that auction. You look well rested. Have you been getting more rest down there in the city during this quarantine?
No. I'm getting the same average amount of sleep that I always get. Perfect 7 hours. That's what I need. That's what I get, and that's how things get done.
Well, that's great. Wanted to kind of get started with you discussing the auction. What were some of your takeaways from auction night on Tuesday?
Well, unfortunately, I had the Wi-Fi mix up. My auction. I'll talk about myself first. I had it set up perfectly. Got one of the guys I wanted. I've been dying to have Saquon Barkley on my team. I told Lance Smith that I would, no matter what, I would not lose out on Saquon Barkley, and I true to my word. Got him at a high price, and he's got to perform for me. So happy there. Obviously, the snafu with the Wi-Fi ended up with Kenny Galladay, and Mark Andrews not really happy about that, but we live, we move on, and we compete. So that's the way it goes. Now, big winner in the draft. You and I think have spoken about this a ton of times, Mark. But I think the biggest winner of the draft was the commissioner, who went in and spent $191 on 2 running backs, an A+ back in Ezekiel Elliott and a B+ in the rookie in Kansas City, and we saw how good he's going to be. Now, teams scheme different ways. Maybe he won't be as big a factor, and the passing game will open up a little bit more next time. But he looked great, and having 3 marquee backs like that, that's kind of the way you win a championship in this league. So, Red coming out of the auction has I think the best chance right now. The worst performance of the night on the auction was certainly the Arizona Horned Frogs, going in with a 50-point advantage over, or $50 advantage over most teams. He's got to come out of that auction with one of Ezekiel Elliott or Saquon Barkley, and he didn't. So big mistake on his part, but we'll see. Maybe his strategy of spreading the wealth around to some of the more mid-level B players will work out. Great draft.
Just if I may just stop you for a second, Eric, because I have it up on the screen here.
Okay.
I've been trying to. I hope the folks at home. I think I'm doing this properly, but I've got the draft recap up on the screen. And I kind of felt the same way in regards to the Horned Frogs. I thought for sure it was a similar situation last year with Red, where he had all this dough to come in and he had to be pushed. So I think you pushed him a bit last year. I think that's how you ended up with Christian McCaffrey a year ago.
Yep.
And then this year, I mentioned it before I brought you on today's call. Lance Smith, who's a newcomer in the league, he pretty much went all in very early on against Red as well. I think he creeped up to having all but $1 players available. Of course, Red in the end prevailed on that pick. But when it comes down to the Horned Frogs, I was really shocked that he didn't go all the way. I mean, his most expensive player was Josh Jacobs that he got, who I think is great, but at $71, that's about probably where he was going to end up, regardless of how much dough you had. And when you go in with $50, $60, $70 more than everybody else, you have to get one of those elite players, in my opinion. And it's part of the reason why I never traded Lamar Jackson to him going into. He had offered me $15 for him, and I just felt that giving him Lamar at $15 at a discount when he already had the most cash was part of the reason why I didn't do that, and I figured I would take my chance. I ended up with him. What did you think about me making that play? Now to talk about me a little bit, what did you think about my play to kind of go all in on Lamar Jackson, who obviously was a key to my championship last year?
Yeah, so I think you did a good job with Lamar. I think Lamar is, Lamar's value is such that, at the quarterback position, even though it's a deep position, his value is so much above the third and fourth guy, taking Mahomes out of the equation because we knew Red wasn't going to drop him. $43 or $40, whatever it was you spent on him for around that amount is
43
fair value for Jackson. Where I think you made the mistake, if you don't mind me saying,
no,
is
not at all.
Just like I made the mistake, but my mistake was that I lost Wi-Fi and I drafted 2 players I didn't want. But the mistake was not getting that third back that must have big time next level back. So I think we're a little short. We're both a little short there. I would have liked to see you have spent the money on the back as opposed to Lamar, or as opposed to really Hill. I like Lamar, but really Hill, I think is overpaid at that position. But those are little things that maybe at this point that works out. Maybe you find that third back someplace else, or maybe one of your guys who you got cheaper turns into that third back. There's many ways to win this league, but that's where I think you came up a little short. But good draft overall. Lamar is not your problem. He's going to be a big advantage for you moving on week to week. So I like the Lamar pickup.
No, I agree. And actually, it's one of those things. I think you've done a better job of highlighting that than myself, because I was feeling really good, and now I'm looking at my team and I'm in a bit of panic mode, realizing I'm missing that third key running back. Because I would say this, as far as my team is concerned, I feel like the starting lineup, I think it's certainly as good, if not better, than any other team in the league. But I'm very weak beyond that point, and any injury, I'm in a tough spot. And in regards to your ball club, Um, I'm just taking a quick look here. Yeah, you got Andrews was the player you didn't like. Andrews and Kenny Galladay. Those are the two that you were referring to, right? That you didn't want.
Yeah. Yeah, not that I didn't want either player. I obviously didn't need Andrews at the tight end position, but I mean he's going to play. He's going to play the flex for me. He's a guy who's going to get a lot of targets. You're going to see 8 to 12 targets a game. I think out of Andrews. Lamar's going to throw the ball. We know that. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise there. Galladay's a real good player. I think he's a guy who could score 10, 12 touchdowns, which is a big deal at the wide receiver position. So we'll see. It might work out, but those were two guys I wouldn't have wanted at that price. But what are you gonna do? I like the guys I would have targeted. I like Cam Akers, and he's back. The only thing to like about his team. So that was a guy I was going to target at the $15 to $20 range. Some young backs. The guy at Indianapolis would have been a guy to go after at 20, 25. But, the cash was gone. So we had to move on.
Yeah, and Cam Akers, I guess we'll jump over. And you can't see the draft recap on your screen, can you?
I can, my boy, and I also have it up here at the home office. But
oh, good, because you mentioned Cam Akers. He was the 55th player taken by He's Back. If you don't mind, why don't we take a quick look at Sean's team? He was obviously he came into this auction. He went all in last year. In fact, he was a big reason for the big bankroll for Bad Array. How did you think that Sean fared, given that he went in with a limited amount of cash?
It's amazing that deal. For the new league members, they don't realize it, but that deal was, probably the biggest event in the league history. The dominoes that fell after that were remarkable. And here we are today. And both teams that, looking at that deal last year, both teams I thought did well. Both teams won the deal. If one thing happened for each of them. He's Back had to win the championship last year. That didn't happen. Arizona Horned Frogs had to get one, if not two, of those big backs. That didn't happen. And so basically the deal to me is a wash for both of them. And He's Back is, mortgaged his future to win a championship. It didn't happen. He's got some young, you could see his draft strategy was take some $1 to $5 to $10 flyers on guys who may turn into keepers, trying to find the next batch of keepers. So hopefully a few of them pan out for him. But you can go after the championship, but you better go get it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Let's take a quick look at the two new teams in the league. Let's start with Friday to Go. So coming into it, he went maybe by necessity. He went pretty light in regards to his keeper pricing. He kept Cortland Sutton for $5. It looks like James Conner for $1, and then Ronald Jones for $1. Never at auction before. Never had done a league on ESPN before. What are your thoughts on Friday to Go? Post auction before any of the games are played.
Well, first thing I'll say about fried dough is I was very surprised that he kept Ronald Jones, and I think it was a good move on his part. I didn't think he would, and it was a guy that I thought that I could get at a middle price for would be my third or fourth back, and he kept him, and which was a smart move. I think Ronald Jones is a guy who's going to benefit from Brady's cleverness around the line. So we'll see if that pans out for him. And you can't argue with guys like the Kansas City tight end that even though that's a heavy price, he's a really talented player, and I can't imagine not wanting to have him even at that price. Deshaun Watson's a good price, $13. That's a lot. His best move was AJ Brown at Tennessee, $17. That's a really good price for a guy who could be a top 5 wide receiver this year, in my opinion. We'll see if that pans out. Overpaid on Amari Cooper. At some point, people have to realize that Amari's not the guy. Maybe someday they will. But he keeps getting big money in these auctions year after year and really doesn't deliver for teams. That's my opinion of him. But overall a good job by Fried Dough to Go. I think he's got some players who could outplay their auction dollar, which is what you're looking for, and he's going to compete. Not going to be a walkover, that's for sure.
Yeah, he had Will Fuller, got in for $6. Be interesting to see how much of the attention he gets there in that offense with Hopkins gone. Didn't have him in his lineup on Thursday night though, and he went for 21.2 points. And then I think the other player that he was pretty pleased with, and I guess a little surprised with, and he is a Cowboy fan, was CeeDee Lamb for $6. What did you think about that? I mean, of course it was late flyer, but what did you think about the CeeDee Lamb for $6?
Oh, the Cowboy! I didn't know he was a Cowboy fan. That might make sense. The Amari Cooper buy, but yeah, I mean, CeeDee Lamb's at $6. Any of those wide receivers that got picked in the last amateur draft in the first, second, even the third round, anywhere from $1 to $10. If you got one of those guys, it seems like any of them could be a star. So CeeDee Lamb, $6. We might be talking about this next year as one of his keepers. So that's a really good pick. I like those picks for everybody. A lot of guys got those kind of guys. So that's a smart move. Yeah,
no, I thought he did quite well. He, like you said, Kelsey is his highest paid player at 51, but I think he'll prove to be well worth that.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll just look at the Smuts Nuts, and then we'll kind of get back, maybe talk a little bit about this week. So Smuts Nuts, I know he was a bit concerned when he took over the team, didn't have much to go off of. This team was a part of one of those deals last year. What was your takeaway of his auction and kind of the strategy he went with throughout?
Well, I mean, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. He took over a team that had by far the worst keepers, almost nobody to keep. Ridley's a pretty good player, but $11. Yeah. Okay. He's a keepable guy. And now he's got Hollywood Brown, and he's got the best player in football in his keepers, Christian McCaffrey. That was a bold move. That was a great move on his part. There was, no doubt about it. You walk out of there with the best player in football, it's got to be a good move. So I like those. I like the way he worked his keepers pre-draft, pre-auction. I think he got two good running backs. If Antonio Gibson turns out to be the starter in Washington, that remains to be seen. But at a good price, Carson's a horse.
I thought 38 for Carson was a tremendous buy. Tremendous.
Yeah. No, great job by him. I don't know that, I think the other guys remain to be seen, like Edelman's, Marvin Jones's, those guys, they don't really thrill me, but one of them could have a 1,000-yard season and end up playing for him. AJ Green, same thing. I think his best years are behind him. We'll see if that works out. I think his team is going to hinge on whether Gibson is the starter and whether Michael Gallup can take a step forward and take the Amari Cooper, fictitious role as the number one wide receiver. Gallup is really the number one wide receiver. Now he's got to get all the targets. I think that'll happen. And I think he's going to have a good team. So I'm shocked. I think coming into the draft, I thought it'd be a couple of years before he had a competitive team. I think he's got one.
Yeah. I mean, the team is hinging on a hinge to a certain extent. There's no doubt about that. But hopefully he'll be strong. I mean, just looking at his first week projection, let's see here. Where the heck is he? 155 points. I mean, I think the league as a whole, of course, a lot of times in the early stages, because we don't know exactly what to expect, especially this year of all years, no one is showing up and has like a really, really poor projection for the year. I thought it was interesting. You had mentioned, and there's been a little movement so far. I looked at the final standing projections. We hit on a couple of these teams. He's Back is projected to be the worst team in the league before things get started. Probably not a huge surprise, like you said, going all in last year. You come in, you've actually, for whatever reason, have moved back into 7th projected on the year. And I didn't mean to hit you with that live on the weekly preview, but I imagine you feel much better about your team than what that states.
No, I don't think that whoever's writing the algorithm that comes up with that, I don't think they're necessarily wrong. I think my team's middle of the pack, 7-5. That's where I would put myself. You know, there's a lot of question marks in that flex position and on that bench for me. So I wouldn't put myself. I wouldn't trade my roster for. I would trade my roster for most of the guys ahead of me in this ranking. So yeah, I think that's right where I belong, somewhere in that neighborhood.
One team we didn't talk about, and I think it's interesting. I don't remember where he finished last year, but the process. I believe this is year 3 for him. And he's right there. He's one of the top 4 projected teams. Anything that you can remember about his auction, or what do you think as far as his team goes?
One thing I do remember, and I think, and I may be misremembering, but I think he ended the auction with something like $25 left over, something along those lines. Maybe I'm thinking of a different team, so I won't comment too much farther on that. But other than I'd rather have a red situation where you've got a lot of $1 players trying to fill out a roster than end an auction with bankroll. But that's my opinion. So other people like to get their spots filled and get out of there. But as far as his team goes, I don't know, because he has his keepers especially are guys that are big name guys that really should be great players, and Henry is probably the best of the group, but Odell Beckham Jr., he should be the best wide receiver in football. He's got the talent to be, but for whatever reason, the numbers don't show up on Sunday. Joe Mixon, as much talent as anybody, catches the ball in the backfield, does all the right things, but ends up with top 10 running back, not top 5. So I mean, if those guys take a step forward, then he can compete. But other than that, not a lot to like on the roster, to be honest with you. Todd Gurley, his days are behind him. Fournette, his days are behind him. Cooper Kupp, does that excite me? No, it doesn't. But we'll see. If you get enough average players and they all play a little bit better than their projections, you can win some games. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, I agree. Joe Mixon's one of those players that I was shocked actually looking. I know you're not one that really looks at a lot of the rankings, and I kind of have my own feeling on players, but just looking at him just as a guide, I was surprised how high Joe Mixon shows up on those lists. But for whatever reason, he does in a lot of cases.
Maybe that offense will be better this year with Burrows, or maybe it'll be bad with Burrows because he's going to turn the ball over a lot like most rookie quarterbacks. So who knows?
And I think, sorry about that, Spice. I think, oh, maybe not. It looked like we had another member trying to join in, but I don't see it anymore. So I was just verifying if it was before I all it said was iPhone, so I didn't want to gamble that it was someone unexpected. Hold on, let me see if we can do it again. I think overall, I mean, this has gone extremely well from a standpoint. Oh, that was what I was going to ask you. So you had mentioned Ronald Jones, right? That was a player that you didn't think that Fried Dough to Go was going to keep. He did. Where do you see, or how do you see that situation playing out in Tampa with Leonard Fournette now in that backfield as well?
Well, I mean, Fournette is an exasperating fantasy player because was as talented as anybody in football, comes in for whatever reason, puts up just enough numbers to make you excited about him, but doesn't get that next level where you really need him to be. So and maybe that's what they see in the locker room, in real football, and that's why he's not in Jacksonville, who really needs a number one back. And I'd expect Ronald Jones with his swing, talent, ability to be the lead back in Tampa. Fournette maybe on the goal line gets sneaks those touchdowns away. But Ronald Jones is talented, and he should be playing. And the way Brady dumps the ball, left and right, guys out of the backfield, all those plays that Brady does so well. I can't imagine that Ronald Jones won't catch 50 balls, and I certainly can't imagine that he won't be the guy who gets most of the carries. So I like him.
This is kind of a fantasy question, but more of a football question in general. If you're heading to the casino tonight and you are going to bet on comeback player of the year, would you be more inclined to put those peppers on Cam Newton or Big Ben Roethlisberger?
Boy, that's a good one. I would put my money on Big Ben. I think, I don't know. Cam Newton should be good too. He's got so much talent, and he's got, the X factor of all X factors in Belichick. I really think Cam's going to play well. I really think the Patriots are going to play well. You can't count Belichick out ever. But I think Ben's going to put up better numbers. They really need him in the passing game, more so than Cam. I think they'll be a little more conservative with Cam and try to win more games on defense. So I think Roethlisberger will get bigger numbers and thus win that award. But I think Cam's going to win a lot of games in New England this year.
Sorry, are you one that believes that New England is still the cream of the crop in the AFC East, or do you see the Billies hopping in there?
I think until Bill Belichick is 6 feet under, I think the Pats are the team to beat.
Good point. Point taken.
I do like the Bills. I did like I do like the quarterback there. I think they're the things that I was reading, things that I saw last year out of him. I think they'll throw the ball a little bit more with Diggs there now. Got a real true deep threat. So I think as a player I like that Bills quarterback as a sleeper in fantasy. In real life, and the team's going to be good, but you got to beat Bill.
Yep. And I think everyone in the league would be very disappointed if we didn't briefly talk about the NFC East. You think that's a runaway? I know we have a lot of NFC East teams, fans in the league. We have obviously Philly in the process. You and me with the Giants, Will with the Cowboys, and there may be others. What do you think? Do you think this is a year that the Cowboys run away with it, or do you think it's going to be more competitive?
I think it'll be competitive again. I think the Cowboys are the team to beat for sure. When you look at their offensive talent and you stack up their offensive line, they should score a ton of points. But they have some defensive questions, just like every other team in the NFC has defensive questions. I think that's where you got the NFC East. That's where the weakness is in the secondaries, and it certainly is the Giants' biggest weakness right now. Until some of those guys start performing in the secondary, I just can't see them stopping anybody. But we'll see. I think the Eagles are average. I think that Redskins are probably the worst team in that division. But and I don't think the Cowboys will run away with it. I think they're going to lose games because of their defense. So it's one of those, 9-7 might win the conference again. That seems to be the theme over the last 5-6 years. So I think that's what's going to happen.
Excellent.
And I do think the Cowboys will win it. I do think the Cowboys have the best team.
Okay, I'm going to bring back up this week's matchups.
Oh yeah.
We'll take a look. We'll finish with ours because we play each other this week. Let's start down. I think this one has the most data attached to it. The Bermuda Bumblebees against Fried Dough to go. It's pretty tight. A 15-point win is projected for the Bumblebees. What's your takeaway on this matchup?
Well, what a classic fantasy 5 minutes to end Thursday night's game, where Deshaun Watson got 2 late scores, total garbage time. Just like, critical for Friday to go. But that's the game we play here. Garbage time points count just as much as game-winning drives. So great job by Deshaun Watson keeping Friday to go in it. But you needed one of the 2 Kansas City guys to kind of shit the bed, and both of them played well. Not great. Not like the 50, 45, 50-point performances we've seen out of, star offensive players, but good performances. So you get some consistency, and you get those, if you keep churning out 25-point performances, you're going to win a lot of games. So I think Red did what he had to do on Thursday night out of both those players. Watson did what he had to do, and you would like to see one more of Mahomes' scores go to Kelsey for Friday to go, but he's still in it. He's still got a lot of players left.
And I believe we've been joined by my friend iPhone. Are you there, iPhone?
iPhone's here. Yes.
Oh, very nice. So if I recognize that voice correctly, that's Batteray.
It is. It is.
Have you been tuning in and decided to weigh in, or are you just taking my invitation? And have you seen any of the program today?
No, I'm driving right now to pick out our new dog, but I wanted to hear what was going on, so I can be a silent contributor, or I can
Sure.
add a little.
Yeah, we've been touching on a lot. We touched on the auction. Right now, we're kind of going through the weekly matchups in the league. So I don't know if you want. Why don't we do yours at the very least while we have you on the line, because I'm sure you've at least had a chance to look at that, and that's probably the least likely to affect your driving at this time.
Oh yeah, I got you guys on speaker. We're good to go. You can't see me.
I knew you'd be taking all the necessary precautions, especially with the new pup. Now, what kind of dog are you thinking about, Batter?
Well, you're joined also by Teddy and Camilla.
Oh, hello, Teddy and Camilla. Thanks for joining the show.
And we are getting a chocolate lab.
Beautiful, great,
Oh, wow.
Great pets they are.
Oh yeah, so we get to choose between 4, I think, chocolate labs.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, very excited.
I know next time Mark's in Tucson, he's just gonna run up to that puppy and scratch his head and give him a big.
Oh, I can't wait. Yeah, I want to get out there before he gets too big, for sure. I like them when they're little pups. When they can tackle me, I'm not as keen on it. But Batter, I know, Batter, being the humble gentleman that you are, you'll probably have something very nice to say right now. But I'm looking at the win probability for this week's matchup, and ESPN has you with 100% win probability against He's Back. One of your favorite trade partners. What can you tell us about this matchup and where you see it going?
I don't think it's fair to really talk about matchups against Sean in the first few weeks. I think his lineup will get stronger. He's good on the waiver wire. He had a good pickup in Hunter Henry. But he went all out last year, and I don't foresee him doing too well the first few weeks. But after that, I think he'll pick it back up.
Were you happy? Were you excited about David Johnson's performance? What did you think about him in week 1?
Considering the game flow was not meant for him at all in terms of them going down real big and them, the backup running back getting hurt. So they had to use him at wideout a lot, you can say. I think that was more for rest and to get a defender out of the way. But I'm really happy with what he did with the touches he got. Really happy. I think he averaged 7 yards a carry and got a touchdown, had some really good moves, broke some tackles in the open field. I was very pleased. Now,
it's only fair, Batter, that we tell you this now. I thought maybe you were calling in because your ears were ringing. We were breaking down the auction, and I guess the knock that Eric and I had about your auctions, we felt with the cash flow you had going in, you had to get one of those top 2 or 3 backs. We like Josh Jacobs, of course, but what can you tell us about your thought going in when you saw Saquon going to 111, and I think Zeke went for 103 or somewhere in that range. How were you tempted to go further, or did you have another plan in mind?
So no, every year I've drafted, I've always looked for consistent players, guys that you won't be surprised will get you 20 every week, maybe not 40, but 20 at least. And the one year I veered away from that when I had extra auction money and went big on Ezekiel Elliott and Tyreek Hill, I kind of, just fell flat on my face. So I decided to stick with my original plan and set values at guys that I really liked and wanted on my team. And I'm very pleased with the draft.
I mean, you're definitely very deep. I mean, that's certainly one of, and that's kind of Eric's takeaway with my team is not very deep. I don't really have that third running back. I've got two great ones, but I don't have that third guy that should something happen, I could be in big trouble. No, that makes sense. And I think that you're well positioned, especially I probably should have been a little more cognizant of that going in the COVID era. There could be players that miss time more unexpectedly. So for me to kind of go all in on my starters may put a repeat championship in jeopardy.
Yeah, no, I mean, so the lineups that I really like are yours, Reds, and mine, but in that order too. But no, it's I don't know. I was very pleased with the draft. I thought, honestly, even the new guys, I thought they did really well. I think they did a little more research than most guys when they first come into our league. I think they talked to a lot of the league owners, obviously, because I was very impressed with how the new guys drafted, considering that.
Well, especially, I mean, for Smuts Nuts to have the wherewithal to make a trade with Eric for Christian McCaffrey pre-auction.
I think he's going to be a quick learner. He bounced back. He had a good draft.
He definitely did. He definitely did.
Yeah.
Definitely. And he made a great trade. Like,
that was a terrible trade.
You walk out of there with the best player in fantasy football. Coming into the draft with almost no keepers. He did a great job. He could have. Here's my thought process. He could have got McCaffrey for right around 110, which is what he paid for him. And he would have had one more $1 keeper in Parker. So that's my thought process. And for new guys in the league, they need to be. Parker was $9.
I'm sorry, $9? No, he was $1.
I don't think so.
Because he showed me a screenshot when he was trying to trade for Parker, and I'm pretty sure it was $1.
Listen, if you have the chance to get the best player in football and keep him away from the rest of the league, you take it. I would have gone to 120 on Saquon. So
no, you're looking at it from the wrong perspective, though, because as a new guy, it's always going to be really difficult to win in this league. It's just, that's a fact of the matter. And as a new guy, you need to be going all out for, players that you might be able to keep in the future.
Now you're thinking about it wrong, because we also have some people think, more importantly, that the weekly king of points in this league. This is not just a championship league. This is if I score the most points every week, I can win some money.
Yeah, but going into an auction with $80 and Christian McCaffrey isn't going to win you a lot of money, in my opinion.
Well, I disagree. I think you made a great move. I think you made the mistake in not getting a Saquon, not getting an Ezekiel Elliott. But time will tell. Yeah, time will tell. Yeah. I mean, if
Saquon or Ezekiel gets COVID, then whoever got them, that's a couple of losses in a row.
Or it blows out a knee. I mean, that's football. But
that's true.
What you did right, and what you always do right, is you have a plan going in, and you executed your plan. So that's good to hear.
And we've lost Mr. Ray, but we want to thank him very much. Look forward to seeing the new chocolate lab here in the near future.
It just shocks me that because McCaffrey per game is like 2 or 3 points more on average than Saquon or Zeke. So McCaffrey is the A+ of that group, and he got him for less than I got Saquon. It's mind-boggling to me that people think that wasn't a good move, but
Then why didn't you keep him?
because I knew I was going to pay for one of them. Yeah, actually, you want to know why? You want to know why I didn't keep him? Because what I said to myself was, I know I'm going to get one of these guys. I won't let it not happen. Smut will have the second one, and then
That keeps him out of someone else's. I get it.
Keeps him out of your hands, not someone else.
The better question is, why hasn't anyone else been kept for $100 ever before?
Well, do you think he's back with the keepers he had? If he had $100 back, do you think he would have kept him or should have kept him?
Not in this draft because he owed about $70 or something like that. But maybe if he had a full budget.
Yeah, I mean, so when you walk out of there, with the best player in football, I can't see how it's a bad thing. I just don't see it. Because you can get guys.
Well, giving you the $10 for it was not good because he would have taken $2.
So to get McCaffrey, he would have had to spend the same amount of money he spent, but he didn't have the chance of losing him to the other people in the draft. I don't understand what, he didn't overspend. He spent the exact same amount I spent on Saquon. He spent almost the same amount.
I just don't see anyone else making that argument other than you.
I think my take on the whole thing, just as someone that's watched this whole thing unfold, I don't know why that's doing that. Oh, maybe it's just picking up Rick's audio. No, that's okay. I think that for Smut coming in, I think he, as we've established, he didn't have much to go on from a keeper perspective. I think he had gone on and looked at the prior prices in the past, and I think he saw it as an opportunity to get that guy at 100. Now,
and we know Lance from a lot of leagues. Batter doesn't know the owner Lance, but this is not a guy who doesn't pay attention to fantasy football. This is, No,
I get that. I can tell he's good at the game, but our league is very unique. Very unique.
Batter, speaking of that, what did you make of? So we've talked enough about this particular trade, but you may have noticed that during the draft, or during the auction, I should say, he also ran Red up quite a bit on Zeke, I believe it was. Basically, he was going to blow his entire budget. Were you surprised by that move by Smuts Nuts?
No, I think it was Hilaire. It was Hilaire.
It was Hilaire, okay. But he went well into the 70s until he couldn't bid anymore. And that was early on.
No, you can tell he knows what he's doing. He wasn't going to let Red get. I think he had a good read on Red, personally. I don't know. I liked Hilaire, just not at that dollar amount because he is a rookie, and that scares me. But man, that Kansas City offense can make anyone a superstar.
Did you feel during that whole process that you were a target of most given your budget? Like, did you like going in with the most?
I didn't feel that at all.
Would you rather be somewhere in the middle?
I honestly, I didn't feel like I was a target. No.
Good. That's the way it meant to feel.
So, I mean, I knew certain people wanted certain players, so I went hard on them. But other than that, no.
Like Lamar Jackson, for an example.
Oh yeah, I think you could have had Lamar Jackson for a little bit less.
You mean what? If
I wasn't bidding him, yeah, I would have been happy with Lamar Jackson at less than 40, but I didn't want to spend that much. So I was worried on that last click. You let it go down to 2 seconds. I was all, screw it, I'm not risking this anymore. So what'd you get him for? 43?
43, yeah.
43, yeah. No, I always wanted Kyler Murray and Dak, just because I feel like they're undervalued a little bit, and I knew I would trade one of them in week 3, week 4.
Yeah. And it's, yeah.
So if I would have gone Lamar, that strategy would have gone out the window, or my 2 quarterback strategy.
Right.
Yeah.
I hate to always be playing the contrarian here on batter,
No,
but
that's what you're here for. That's what you're here for.
well, no, I'm here to just. I don't think there's a lot of trade value for quarterbacks in this league, historically speaking. So I don't know that you'll get much for either of those guys when you decided to trade them. If you do, it'll probably have to be packaged with somebody, but that may work out as like the sweetener on a deal. So
We'll see. I've already had 3 trade offers for Murray, so
yeah, but I'm probably not getting a lot back. I know I was
I'm not even worth making a counter, but I just disagree. One of us will be right in the end, hopefully me, but I can see your point. But in a competitive league like this, if a Lamar Jackson goes down, and I'm not looking for someone that's going to help me win this year, I'll be looking for a young keeper or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Possible keeper. That's really more.
But between the 2 quarterbacks, you ended up spending, I don't know, $35, $33, whatever.
No, 20 or 21.
You spent 20. Oh, okay. My mistake. I was looking
21
at the wrong.
total.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
20
didn't think I spent too much.
That's not bad. Yeah.
No.
How do you
I
guys
think
think,
it's worth more than that.
Yeah.
hypothetical for you both, had both number 1 quarterbacks been available in the auction, do you think it would have affected the price at which they went, or do you think both would have went for the somewhere in that 40 to 50 range regardless?
Those 2, yeah, probably regardless, 40 to 50. I mean, what could have happened is someone, messed up their draft strategy and realized, oh, I need Mahomes, and they would have gone up to 50, 55 for him. Then Lamar would have gone up for probably a little higher, or vice versa. But no, I don't think.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of times when you have two players like that, the first one, whoever you consider to be the better of the 2, a lot of times I find the second one tends to go for more money.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know who would have gone for more. I think. What was how would you guys have ranked the 2 of them had they both been available?
Oh shit. I probably would have gone Lamar more because 1, his running, 2, the Chiefs are going to be blowing out a lot of teams this year, so I don't think we're going to see that. Like, I still think Mahomes is a top 3 quarterback in fantasy, but I just think they're an improved team, and I think they're going to be blowing out a lot of people.
Eric?
Yeah, I could not agree more. Lamar is 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 yard back. That's the guy you want, at your spot. So then the passing yards are just gravy. So I just, the numbers he puts up are unbelievable. But he's got those skinny legs, running around. He's an injury risk. So Mahomes, I don't think big of an injury risk.
Well, I know Red did acknowledge that he had targeted me. He's the one that put Lamar up early on, knowing that was going to be a big bid. Probably not just for me, but for everybody. He was locked in with Mahomes. Anything
Smart
else?
move.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
A smart move by Red.
Oh, for sure. Sure. Anything else, Batter, that you can think of? Any other comments, thoughts?
I have a question. For you guys, if you don't mind me cutting in.
No, not at all.
Rules changes that you think you'd like to see on the as far as the auction goes? Anything you guys?
In terms of the actual auction?
Yeah. So in terms of the auction.
No, I think our auction's is awesome. No.
Well, what do you mean?
What were you thinking?
Yeah, you mean in terms of the format, or what exactly did you mean?
I mean, one thing that I think would be, and this is the second year in a row where we've seen it affect us, is, when it goes into auto draft. I think we should have a guarantee from players to be there, and if there's an issue, obviously things happen. If there's an issue, we gotta pause. We gotta wait. We gotta get people back on. If we have like somebody going to auto draft and you're trying to get those $1 guys at the end, which is such a critical thing to
I don't like that either. You're right.
I didn't. Well, I'll be honest. I didn't realize that you had gone auto draft. So my pulse on that was not there. Red, I will say, as commissioner, if you're going to be the commissioner of the league, I know it can be a lot of work and a pain in the butt at times. But he had hid the league chat, so he was unaware of anything that was going on. I think if you're going to be the commissioner and you're the one that can pull it back. Red called me whenever we did realize, Rick, about that. And I think it was 8 or 9 players that had gone in that time.
Yeah. Yep.
So at that point, I said, I don't think you can do anything about it. But
I didn't realize that either, Rick. Rick, what happened? Did you lose internet connection or something?
Yeah, lost connection, and like my whole setup. It was actually a unbelievable, series of unfortunate events where my cell phone died. And then, but that's the kind of thing that can happen though. And if I was bidding on a player that I know that batter, for example, that you didn't want or didn't need, and I wanted them, and your auto draft was bidding me up, that would be just as annoying as being the guy who got the wrong guy. So,
do you guys adjust your player values before the draft in case that happens? Do you guys ever do that?
I did. I haven't always done it, but I did this year. Yes.
No,
yeah, I did too for some reason. But I've never done it before. But I saw that. I was like, I should probably do this. But to get back onto Rick's thing, though, that phone should have been charged, the iPad should have been backup, and the computer should have been ready to go.
Series of misfortunate events. I'm more thinking about it from a we've had people who have not showed up, or we have people who have left early, and it's been a real source of contention where there needs to be a commitment, and there needs to be a set of things happen. Who knows what the next year's calamity will be, but I think there needs to be someone in control of the pause and of making sure that the thing is running smoothly, not just worry about his own team. But that's just my 2 cents.
So what would your rules be like?
Unfortunately, you have to do that. You have to keep an eye on that, meaning Red in this case. And I think he knows.
No hard feelings. I just think that we need to get that straightened out.
I think the fact that the commissioner's given us the platform to speak freely about our concerns about the league is an indication of his leadership. He doesn't anticipate that we're not going to have some critiques of how he handles things. I mentioned the 11th hour move to add 2 IR spots. Never discussed with the league. So,
I mentioned something similar. So, yeah, it's maybe there's a way to someone else can help assign that to somebody. I don't know, but it's that's a big deal.
Hey, Rick, at what point in the draft did that happen? Do you remember? Like, was it in the beginning? Was it towards the middle?
It was fairly early, I think.
It was like first third. Yeah, first third.
Man, that sucks. What players had gone that you are targeting?
I'm not even sure, to be honest with you, because it knocked me on my ass so hard. But
he was so ticked off at that point.
But Galladay was drafted at $40, which probably is not a terrible pick at that dollar value, but it wasn't a guy that I had targeted, so I ended up with him. But then with Weller being one of my keepers at tight end, obviously I have high hopes for him. To get Mark Andrews at $16 was just to have him, my auto draft bidding on him makes no sense.
Well, it's interesting, Eric, too, because you got both those players back to back. Kenny Galladay was the 52nd player, and then Mark Andrews was 53rd. Cam Akers went right after that, which is a player that went to he's back that you mentioned earlier that you liked. Just trying to see who else would have went in that time frame. 57 was Keenan Allen at 22.
Oh, were you not on for? I was kind of surprised I got Keenan Allen for 22. I had a dollar value of like 35 on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a key. Maybe for things like an accidental dropout, having that dollar value set. Maybe that's something I'll have to look at in the future. But I just don't understand what the algorithm is just so bad.
No, honestly, that is a terrible algorithm. If you already had a tight end, why is he auto bidding on another? Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And it was so early where I had only like four players in my roster. So, or five, 5.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. But
You know what I'm wondering too is how many people, like you said, Kenny Galladay, you got for 40, and what was the tight end? Who was his name? I'm sorry.
14, I think.
16.
Yeah. So what
16.
about the players that actually wanted him? That because this affected Rick in one way, but it also affected the people bidding against Rick's auto
That's
pick.
what I
You know.
mean. Yeah, that's what I said. It would be as frustrating for me if I got bid up by an auto draft on a guy who doesn't want.
Because that means someone could have had Kenny maybe at 35 or 34 or 32. You know.
Yeah.
I will say I am surprised Mark Andrews went for that low of a price. I could have seen him going into the 20s for sure, but still, you didn't need him. So I don't know where I was. I was lost apparently at that point. I would have nabbed him if I could. Maybe we can talk offline, Rick, about a deal.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, did you guys? I thought I got Kittle for really cheap. Well, do you guys not value the tight end as much, or what are your thoughts on tight ends?
No, I mean I think Kittle's very good. Rick, did you have him? Yeah, he got sent.
He
no,
did. So for whatever reason, Smutnut only had 3 players available when he took over the league team. So I had to, when we did the McCaffrey blockbuster, he had to send me a player. So he sent me the guy he wasn't going to keep. So Kittle. But it was a Smutnut player, which I think would have been I don't know, 40. I think he had him $41. I think that would have been I guess an okay keep, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I see it here. Yeah, I have your auction up on the screen, Batter. Yeah, 37.
37 is a good price, but I wonder if that's more of a Jimmy Garoppolo, bid than.
Yeah, maybe.
But I
was just surprised. I was pleasantly surprised, but I think I value tight ends more than most people, though.
I used to be the opposite Batter, where there was a ton of teams and a ton of seasons I'd go into streaming the tight end and just looking for a good matchup. But when you get one of those top 5 guys and they can churn out 20 points for you week in, week out, it is a big advantage over the second half of the league that is getting a guy that maybe gets a couple red zone targets, and if you're lucky gets you double digit points. It's a big advantage. I can see why you value them more.
Yeah, I thought Red would go for Kittle or even Kelsey I thought I'd have more competition there.
Is that
that's one thing Red's had on his rosters, has had a top tight end, for most of the last few years.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and Elliott went, then Kittle. That's actually really interesting. So then Kittle at 35. Who went 36? Who's the 36th player? You got me thinking about this, Mark.
DeAndre Hopkins for 62 went 36.
Yeah, a lot of money coming off the board. Then Kittle. So maybe it was just like sticker shock for everybody, and kind of said, "Oh, maybe we can wait on tight ends." And you might have got them just at the right.
Sometimes you just catch that right wave. You're right. Yeah. Like I don't know how you guys feel. We talked about it a little bit with Batter the other night. Like Allen Robinson, who I got for 37 or thereabouts, I thought he was going to go for a lot more, but whether that was
that was a good pick. I don't think he's a top 10 guy, but I think he's definitely worth he's a high end wide receiver too at worst, and he has potential to be a top 10 guy. So I do like that pick a lot.
Yeah,
but
so it's a good deal. It's weird.
God, give Allen Robinson a good quarterback. Oh my God.
No, that's
what he's done with Bortles and Blake or whatever. What was the guy after Bortles?
I'm sorry. For what team are we talking about now?
Because he was on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he had Blake Bortles throwing to him. And then who else did he have?
Nick Foles, or was that not on that?
No, that wasn't. No, not Nick Foles.
Yeah, I don't know who replaced Bortles.
He basically sorry guys. Sorry quarterback after sorry quarterback.
I've been so carefully watching my language pattern.
I know, and I'm the one that does it.
Oh man! Well, you're getting them a dog, so hopefully they'll forgive you for that.
I have one funny story, then I'm gonna get off. Someone said a cuss word, and my daughter goes, "I know what that means," and we're all like, "Hey, how do you know what that means?" And she goes, "Well, when Daddy's on the phone with his friends, sometimes I hear it." I'm like, "Oh."
Oh,
So
that's great.
not a dad of the year moment right there, but it is what it is. All right, gentlemen, we're pulling up to the ranch right now. Thanks for letting me
All right,
participate.
send a photo to the league. We'd love to see the pup.
Oh, we'll do.
All
Love
right,
these
take care.
league participation things. So thanks, guys.
Bye
Bye bye.
I'm hungry.
You're hungry.
bye. So that's the beauty of doing it live. Doing it live, Rick Spice. So Rick, we've gone. Geez, I really appreciate you taking the time. It's 5:35. We've gone an hour or so.
Wow.
Why don't we?
I do have to say something about Batter before we move on. His I do think he realizes that Christian McCaffrey deal was a deal to try to to knock a player away from him getting him. I think he realizes that, and is why he's so insistent that was such a bad deal. Because I just don't see how you can think that. But McCaffrey basically single-handedly got me to the championship game last year. So having the best player in football, it's just like there's no way that's a bad move. Now,
and like we said, Lance Smith coming in never doing an auction. I feel like most new people coming into the league would be way too scared to make a deal like that, feeling like you're trying to screw them over or whatever. So kudos to Lance for doing that. We'll see how it plays out. He needed talent. He got it. And he obviously knew just from studying the league a little bit where these players go for. And it's why not lock them up for a price he's going for anyways, instead of leaving it to chance in the auction. So I think it was good for everybody. And it did keep him out of the hands of one Batter Ray. So Rick, as we kind of send it on home, as they say, I'll bring up our matchup real quick and we'll take a look at that. Get your take. And you said you have another screen there. So it's funny, folks, that as you're watching this, Rick now has ample screens at his disposal. However, auction night, only one nearby. So he's learned his lessons. It'd be a nightmare situation if we lost him during this week's preview. So Rick, so you got Carson Wentz against Washington, Eckler, Barkley, obviously. Barkley Monday night against Pittsburgh. I mean, you obviously Michael Thomas is right there. You mean if you look, I think most people would have Thomas as the number one wide receiver. I think Adams is arguably the number two receiver in the league. Hill's right there, and he's already played. 15 was not a huge performance for him. You're going, it looks like, unless something changes, you're going with both tight ends. What were your thoughts there? You just feel like those are your two most qualified, or is that something you're still? Give me all your thoughts, but
I think Andrews is going. I took when I ran out of cash. I took some flyers on some guys that I think are probably low floor, high ceiling guys, not consistent people. So I'm not really sure how like a Justin Jefferson is going to perform just yet. I'm not sure how how much Slayton is going to be in the game plan of the Giants. I hope he's in it, big time, but we'll see. Paris Campbell, I think, is a guy who could be a marquee wideout. Got hurt last year, didn't really get to show it. So, but we don't know. Maybe we didn't see a preseason game, right? We didn't see we haven't seen much camp footage. So you don't know if anybody's good or not. So I took a flyer on some of those guys based on talent, coming into their draft positions, stuff we knew about them in college. So I'm just not sure how consistent they are, how good they're going to be, how much of the game plan they're going to be. Andrews, we know, is going to be a major target for Lamar. He has been for the last couple of years. So I just feel like that's a safer pick there. Leaving him in the lineup.
It's interesting too when you look at it. So you've got Andrews and I've got Lamar, right? And then I've got Miles Sanders and you've got Carson Wentz. So on some level, real life football could really play in and cancel some of our stuff out a little bit. I really anticipate. I mean, last year Miles Sanders caught over 50 balls, and it wasn't until late in the season that he was the primary guy in the backfield. So him and Wentz hooking up a bunch. Mark Andrews obviously has a great rapport with Lamar Jackson. Looks like Kenny Galladay, the player we've talked a lot about on today's preview, looks like he is doubtful.
He came with a hammy this week, so I may have to throw in one of those boomer bust guys. Got to think about which one, but if he doesn't go, I don't give myself much chance. But he came up with a little hammy tweak. But it's one of my football pet peeves, if you'll indulge me for a second, is the wide receivers and those freaking hamstrings. Like, every week they're on the injury list. It's annoying, but hey, get a massage, right?
Yeah, for sure. One last question, Eric, and then I'll send you on to your Saturday night, because I know curfew's at 9 p.m. there in New York City. One of the things I've heard from people, as you're a team that people are often studying, the trades you make, the auction strategy, and so on. It's been brought to my attention, something I had overlooked, that you tend to spend a little more on defenses than the average team. What's your thought process on that? And do you feel that's true, or is that just a case this year with the Niners?
Well, it's a case this year with the Niners, and I did it last year with the Bears. And it didn't really pay off for me last year with the Bears. I mean, I think the kicker too is it's just something you shouldn't necessarily just run in there and spend $1 on. There's definitely better kickers than others. It's not, I ended up not with a great one, but by the flow of the draft, I just didn't feel like getting in on one of the better kickers. But I honestly, I made a deal a couple years ago with Pat. I traded him a couple auction dollars or something. I traded him, I forget, for Justin Tucker, because my kicker was on a bye week, and Baltimore started kicking a lot of field goals. They're that kind of offense. They were scoring a lot of points, and I rode Justin Tucker to the finals. It's just, I'm sure other people think about it too, and it's not a throwaway position. And then defense, the same thing. Like if you get a defense that gets a lot of turnovers, gets a lot of sacks, if you get a lot of turnovers, you're probably getting a lot of pick sixes, a lot of returns, and that's how you get king of points. You get your defense in there, score 30, 45 points, you're going to win a lot of games. And the turnovers, that's really the key. If a defense can cause turnovers, that's the one you want.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the commissioner gets his way and defenses and kickers are eliminated from next year's league.
Yeah, no, that'd be a mistake. That'd be a real mistake. Real mistake.
Well, Eric, I want to thank you so much for being here with me for this opening week preview. Wish you all the luck of as much as I can without wishing you to beat me. But wish you all the best this season as the two teams that faced each other in the championship last year, and I believe the two most king of points in the league last year as well. So we'll see if our good fortune continues in 2020.
All right, my boy. Stay well.
All right, we'll be in touch. Take care. Okay, folks. So thanks so much. This is really awesome. We were able to record this live via Zoom over on YouTube. Really looking forward to this 2020 fantasy football season. It's been one crazy year from a sports perspective, but hopefully we'll finish out strong in 2021. Will be great. We didn't see him, but Batter Ray, the owner of the Arizona Horned Frogs, joined us. Want to also thank Eric Gruner from Team Irrelevance. Hopefully over the next couple of weeks, we'll have other teams in the league that can join us for all or a portion of this, because I really like the dynamic that brings forth. I guess in closing, I would just say that I really like a lot of the teams in the league. We never got a chance to really talk about Philly. I thought Joe did an awesome job preparing his team. Talked a little bit about the process. They're one of the favorites. When I look at what ESPN lists as final standing projections, yeah, I mean, they have Philly. I could definitely see them. They have them right in the middle, or just beyond the middle as the team finishing sixth. I certainly wouldn't be surprised if they are one of the 4 teams in the playoffs this year. But it will be a year like no other. Thank you for joining us for week 1's preview of the Fantasy Keeper League. Stay safe, and we will talk to you soon. Oh, Fantasy Legend. Bye-bye.